Welcome back to Clash Cultures. Today we're going to be recapping the Georgia versus Florida State Orange Bowl. Obviously, the game was not very competitive at all. The game is actually still going as we're doing this recording right now. Georgia's up by 60 with like 7 minutes left in the game. I know there's going to be a lot of talk about how Florida State didn't, deserve to get in the playoffs, but we just kind of wanted to give our opinion on it. I know, Dad, I saw your Facebook post a second ago. That's what kind of drove me to want to record this really quick. But what is your thoughts on the game and kind of your takeaways for both teams?
Yeah, so kudos to Georgia, but I don't think this game is in any way indicative of Florida State, their season, and or what success they would have had. Even if you remove Jordan Travis, there still were another 23 players out of their 2D that did not play today. I don't think Georgia has the depth. I don't think Florida State has the depth that Georgia has. So I know people will recant with, well, Georgia was also missing players out of their 2D, but I don't think the depth situation is the same. I think Florida State was very dependent on their starters. So when you're missing your starting quarterback, your starting running back, 2 starting receivers, and again, the list can go on. You're starting a true freshman quarterback. It was going to be bad. I never had any doubt in my mind that Georgia was going to win this game. And let me also say this. I don't think if you bring all those 23 players back and Jordan Travis, I'm not saying that Florida State beats Georgia even in that situation. I'm just saying that this game, the way it was played, a lot of people are going to see a 60, and again, like you mentioned, game still going on, so we don't know what the final score is going to be, but a 60-point plus win and go with the narrative that, Florida State shouldn't have been in the college football playoff. This game is no way is indicative of what they would have done. Again, I'm not saying they would have been successful. I'm saying this game with this roster does not in any way showcase what they would have done if they did make it into the college football playoffs. What's your thoughts?
So I look at it from both sides of the kind of the spectrum. So I'll start with Florida State, obviously, first. Those of you guys who have been on the channel for a while, I hate Florida State. But it's crazy because I'm not happy they got blown out. Like any other situation, I would have been so happy right now. I would have got on here laughing at them, ha ha ha, he. But I think the amount of hate that they're going to get because they lost by so much, when, again, like my dad just said, you had pretty much every key player on your roster opt out of the game due to the portal or the draft. And yes, Georgia had a lot of opt-outs as well, but they had their starting running back. They had their starting receivers.
Quarterback.
They had their quarterback. Obviously, they lost Brock Bowers, who's probably their biggest loss. But you had arguably the top 5 to 6 offensive players for Florida State and top 5 to 6 defensive players for Florida State all sit out. So, yes, I know the narrative is going to be, well, they should have started and should have played to prove themselves. But you can say that about every team in college football if that's the case, because every team who didn't make the playoffs had significant opt-outs. So I just don't like that aspect. Now, I will say going into the game, though, you already had the kind of the built-in excuse of Florida State. If they were to lose, it was, well, we didn't have our players. So I don't like that. But on the other side, if they would have won, it was, we beat Georgia without our players. Imagine if we would have had our players. So from Florida State's perspective on that, it was already either a lose-lose or a win-win. And then on Georgia's side, it's kind of the same thing. But I will say this. I think even regardless, Florida State is still a Division I football team, and winning by 60 points is still impressive to me. So I think Georgia is a top 4 team, and I think they proved that today. So even though
I can't give Georgia that credit in this game. Now, if we say based off of what they did this year, I am not taking it from this game, nor am I taking away your point that Georgia's a top 4 team, right? If I was to make the claim that Georgia's a top 4 team, it would be because they basically ran the table. They lost a game in their conference championship by 3 points. Which literally is a margin of error type thing. And we could talk about plays and calls and things even in that game. This game, to me, doesn't prove they're a top 4 team. Not saying that they're not a top 4 team, but this game doesn't prove it.
Yeah, I just think the whole culmination of the season, and I think it's just kind of the icing on the cake. And I think we're going to be able to see a lot in the next 2 days. Obviously, when the 2 playoff games happen, because, again, I've been beating this drum. There's always been a blowout in the playoffs. So when Washington beats Texas by 17 or Texas beats Washington by 17, are we going to say the same thing? Well, why didn't Georgia get in over Texas, or why didn't they get in over Washington? And I also think this goes to show why was Georgia behind Florida State in the rankings? If their notion is we're going to put the best teams ahead, and it kind of goes back to that, well, they were just trying to find a way to get Alabama and Texas in, because Alabama was number 4, Florida State was number 5, and Georgia was number 6. Georgia's just won by 60. So I just think, well, the game's not over, but as of right now, they're up 60. So I just think it's kind of, there's so much discrepancy there when you look at the ranking and how they do it. It's almost like I'm just going to put the top 4 and the rest don't even matter. Like, just, it doesn't really
and
matter.
I think that is so in your terms of discrepancy. I think that really is it. I think it is. They are saying that in terms of the top 4, and then 5 through whatever is whatever. Fortunately, a lot of this will get cleared up next year when we have the 12-team playoff. Not to say, and I'm sure we're going to be having these same conversations about the 12 versus the 13, right? That conversation is just going to move down the line a little bit. But that'll clear up some of this. But like I said, I think Florida State can still walk out of this stadium with their head high, not based off of this game, but based off of having a very good season. I think this probably takes a little bit of the luster off of the national championship national champ comment.
For sure,
I don't think you're going to hear that. Which cool, I like that. But I don't think this diminishes their season. This is still a 13-win team who won a conference championship. Who again, this. We probably won't think about this 2 years from now, but one of the big what ifs of this season is what would Florida State have been if they didn't have the Jordan Travis injury, if all the players continued to play, they didn't have so many opt-outs and transfer portal players. That's one of the big ifs for me.
Yeah, I think their season kind of fell off a cliff in that game against North Alabama or whoever they played when he got hurt. But I also look at kind of the future for them. Obviously, Christian, Christian, I'm a big Florida State fan. Me and him had a kind of a 30-minute argument or debate. We're arguing whether or not, like, what team would kind of take a step next year in terms of my team, which is Clemson and Florida State. And I said it would kind of be a dumb thing to say Florida State will take another step because they're losing so much.
I don't think they're going to take. I think they'll take a step back. And again, what is your step from 13-0? The only step would be in the national championship. I don't think next year may be a big piece in them getting to a place where they could sustain this level.
Yeah, it's almost like consistency.
Right, but I think they will absolutely take a step back. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like you mentioned, they lost a lot of players. We just saw a lot of players out of their 2 deep are not going to be there next year. We saw kind of the product. But I think this helps their recruiting class this year, not this game. This year is going to help them recruit. Shows Mike Norvell that he is on the right path. I think they'll get in the transfer portal, try to replace some of these. We've heard some of the names: Cam Ward, DJU, possibly going down there. So I think they'll be able to pull some players out of the transfer portal. I think they're on their way to being back to that Florida State, but I don't think next year is going to be a great year for them. I think they'll be a very good team, though.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do these recaps. Obviously, we're going to recap from top to bottom, the best teams all the way down. It's going to be really fun. We obviously also have the national championship game, the semifinal game coming in 2 days. So we're going to be posting videos here coming soon, and then as well as the national championship game. What we could also do, we can, given that the bowl games are going to be done in the next 2 days, outside of the national championship game, we can go ahead and just start doing the recaps as well. So let us know in the comment section what teams you guys want to see first as far as the recaps go. We're just gonna, the same way we did the preview, is gonna be the same kind of format. Have a little slideshow, talk about kind of the team stats, player stats,
what they did this season,
their expectations, especially versus our kind of expectations of what we had them. So that's always going to be fun to kind of see where we went wrong and where we were completely right about a certain team. But that's going to be fun. But as always, please do us a favor: like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. This game was obviously not a great one to watch. We still have a few more bowl games coming up, and all the New Year's 6 bowls coming up in a few days. So you guys got to enjoy those while you can, because college football is coming to an end here in the next week. I know my dad and I is going to enjoy it, but we will see you guys in 2 days when we recap the semifinal games. So we'll see you guys.
Absolutely.
Peace out.
All right, peace.